Hello and welcome to the TMC Newsroom. My name is Rich Tehrani. We're at Cloud Expo New York 2011. On our program is Brad Hokamp, who is the president of Layer Tech. And Brad, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Rich.
So tell us a little bit about Layer Tech. You're relatively new there, right? So I want to hear all about it.
Yeah, good. Thanks for the question. I've been at Layer Tech for a little over 3 months. Just joined the company back in March. It's really exciting time for us. We're doing a lot of great things. We've done some acquisitions, and we're shifting the business strategy where we're focused primarily on compliant hosting. So think of us as a managed hosting company that's focused on compliant hosting. So we've been supporting I like to classify as the e-commerce ecosystem. So we support the full PCI, the payment card industry standards. We support HIPAA and the healthcare marketplace. And we're actually going to expand more into the FISMA federal government space. So we're doing some really exciting things there. We've been doing the PCI payment card industry standards since 2005 for the last 6 years. And we also have 3 really exciting cloud platforms. So we have a public cloud offering that has been very successful. We've been selling a lot of our virtual private data center cloud offering.
Right.
Most recent customer we won there was Kana. And then we also have for the compliant marketplace, a compliant cloud. So all very popular offerings for us.
That's awesome. So you are in probably one of the areas that's, I guess, most protected from commoditization, right?
Exactly. I mean, our target really is about the compliant hosting I talked about, and if you look at it, the number one inhibitor for enterprises adopting cloud services is security and compliance. So every study, no matter who does a study, their surveys always come back, why won't you move your enterprise applications to the cloud? And it's always security and compliance is the number one inhibitor. So we're laser being focused on that security and compliance. And we're finding that most of the cloud providers aren't focused on it. They're focused on offering very inexpensive compute resources or storage resources, what have you.
Well, there's a land grab right now,
yeah.
Right? Sadly, it's a lot like the CLEC market or the .com market where there's a land grab and there'll be a shakeout because of, there will be some price issues because people will continue to drop prices to gain share. And,
right.
I mean, the difference is, though, you've got the Amazons and some of the other players in the space which already are offering unbelievably low prices, so you really have to undercut them in some ways, which makes it really difficult to make a living.
Yeah, so our model is not to go out there and try to compete on price around our cloud's better than your cloud or it's going to be less expensive. It's actually, if you want the security and compliance, which many customers need that, especially say in the payment card industry, whether it's a processor or a merchant, they need to be PCI compliant, or if it's a healthcare provider, they need to be HIPAA compliant. So we can provide that service for them. So you're basically adding a lot more value to the solution than just providing compute and storage by the CPU hour, basically.
So you said one of the last things you said was about government earlier on when
Yes.
we were talking about the list of different types of compliance. Do you foresee that the government will be doing more outsourcing to the cloud? Is that?
It's a great question. Yeah, if folks that are following the federal government, President Obama hired a new CIO of all federal government, and he's mandated actually through called the FedRAMP program. He's mandated that the agencies have to move to the cloud, and actually certain timetables for the number of applications moving to the cloud. And they actually not only have to move to the cloud, but they have to be what's called FISMA compliant. So it's a combination of moving their applications to the cloud, but also protect that data. And that's really right in our sweet spot. So we're looking at expanding into that space over the next 6 to 9 months.
It's great, because I know that one of the companies pretty big in government cloud is Tehrani down in Miami, and they were picked up by Verizon.
That's right.
Maybe 6 to 8 months ago. And
Yeah, back in February they actually were picked up by Verizon.
My timing seems to be off because these things seem to happen a long time ago. So much seems to be happening that my ability to...
It was announced, yeah, but it was announced probably 6 months, 8 months ago, but it actually got completed in February. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe I'm a little bit closer on. So I always thought that was part of the reason was that government business is so lucrative. And Tehrani's got an entire floor where you can't even go. I've visited their facility. I mean, it's basically off limits unless you are a Navy SEAL. You can't really get in there.
Yeah, it's a very intensive security, and it depends on, in the government, there's 3 or 4 levels of security you have to provide. So Tehrani can do, top secret things, on down. There's a lot of civilian agencies that still have compliance requirements or security requirements. There might not be double top secret kind of stuff. So it's.
And in some ways, with cyber warfare being the next frontier, especially with things like the Stuxnet virus that allegedly might have come from Western and some other countries collaborating to infiltrate centrifuges in Iran that spin for uranium. I'm getting a little outside my area here in terms of what they do, but the point is that Stuxnet started or continued a cyber war that had happened, that really took place also between Georgia and Russia,
Right.
and seems to be taking place between China and the U.S. and other countries in the U.S. right now. And I wonder if it doesn't make sense for the government to start looking to see if they can have outside companies in the cloud help them with their security to at least give them another line of defense, because right now it's all them getting hammered 24/7. I think, was it Gmail accounts recently that got hacked?
Gmail's accounts got hacked.
That was this week, I think, or last week.
Then you have, of course, you have the whole major problems that Sony's experience. It's not part of the government, but Sony is a great highlight of them. The estimates that they lost, close to $200 million in revenue just by
Google employees in China got hacked.
That's right.
About a year and a half ago,
That's
I think,
right.
causing Google to pull out of China.
Yeah. So the whole, here's the crux of the whole issue is everybody, whether it's the government or commercial enterprises, what have you, you want to protect the data.
Right.
Whether it's your credit card information, your healthcare information, government records, your tax information. So you move into the cloud and you have this kind of shared public multi-tenant type environment. People get nervous about it. So we think we have the answers at Layer Tech to solve those problems.
And so really any company, more or less, that has compliance issues and is thinking about going to the cloud,
we can solve it. And it can be their own internal compliance requirements. So they set the policies and controls around it, or it could be a standard bodies like the HIPAA healthcare side or the payment card industry or FISMA.
So you have some flexibility in terms of being able to work with your customer and say, okay, these are the things you need, these are the things that we can do.
Yeah, just think about it, as I said, at the highest level is protecting their data. We have all the controls in place, and we can apply the right controls, whether it's a government regulation, a commercial regulation, or an internal regulation that customers, or governance that customers implemented, so we can handle that for them.
Now, does someone need to audit your facility? How does that work?
That's a great question. Absolutely. So we're very familiar with, on any given week, we have multiple auditors coming in on behalf of customers. They're called quality security assessors that come in and audit the environments. And so we actually have audit services. So we don't do the audit, but we actually have to provide all the records, the logging, the change management records, et cetera, so they can audit and actually come out with a report on compliance for the client. And so what we're finding, it's interesting, is that a lot of the cloud providers that talk about compliance, in practice, they won't be transparent with auditors, and therefore they won't pass the audit.
Right.
So we provide the audit services, and we have a great track record there, working with really an independent auditor on it. You have to be careful on the cloud, though. The advice we give to customers, a lot of the auditors are not comfortable with public cloud still.
Right.
So it's pretty much 50-50 whether they're going to be comfortable with it. We've proven it out with our clients and our certain auditors, but we encourage customers to work closely with their QSA basically during the solutioning process to make sure they're comfortable with it and what requirements are and those kind of things.
That's great. Well, Brad, thanks for being on the program.
Okay, thank you very much.
You.
All right.